So, we have a Young Living leader from Ohio, from first learning about Young Living at a homeschool convention to rapidly growing her YL business as a blue-red personality. She's got a great story. So let's dive into it all, up next. Hi there, Oil family. I'm Brenton. This is The Leader's Instinct, a Team YL web series and podcast brought to you by TeamSense. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any daily content from cross-line leaders in the Young Living family. Today, we're featuring Jenn and the YL Oil family from Ohio. So let's jump right in. Hey, Jenn, thanks for taking the time. Let's start with a little background. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Well, we are Matthew and Jennifer Baker, and we are from Mansfield, Ohio. And we've been using Young Living for, since April of 2013. So 5 years.
And how did you first get introduced to Young Living?
Well, honestly, by accident. We were down in Cincinnati for a homeschool convention, and I was actually looking for a health book. And so I walked into this booth, and a gentleman was helping me with this health book, and he asked me if I was interested in essential oils. I had not heard at all of essential oils, and so I just told him, I was like, I don't really know, am I? And so his name was Max Hopkins, and so he sat down with me and brought in another lady, and she sat and talked with me. And I'm a blue personality, so it didn't really take a lot of questioning to figure out that I was going to go ahead and give it a shot.
And after you got started using the product, was there anything specific that sparked the interest in wanting to share and do the business side?
Well, once I figured out that there was a business opportunity to that, it actually was very enticing to me. So the red in me was really excited to win. At that time, they had the Silver and Six and the Full Aroma Complete. And so my enroller explained all that to me, and I decided, okay, I want to try to win that. And I also wanted to try to win Silver Retreat. She was going to Silver Retreat. And so that kind of transitioned me into business from there. So I literally just called and talked to everyone I knew and said, okay, this is something amazing. I've just started this. You need to try this. And so I transitioned. Once I learned about the opportunity, I transitioned pretty quickly into the business building aspect of it.
And as there's so many ways to share Young Living and no one right way, do you have a favorite type of sharing method that you like?
I would say my favorite is classes. I enjoy the camaraderie and just meeting new people. When we really were transitioning and trying to retire Matt, I would teach 4 classes a week, give or take. So I really enjoy that aspect. I'm a former teacher, so that kind of fulfills that love of teaching as well. But I do really enjoy one-on-one work. You get to know a person a little bit more, and I'm learning better how to social media share. I did not start with social media, and so we're kind of seeing some teams start with social media and then turn and share via local and in person, and I feel like our team is a little more opposite. We started more local and in person, and I'm now turning and learning how to social media share better.
Very cool. And how about consistently building new relationships to share Young Living with? Do you have any tips you like to share with how you consistently build those new relationships?
Well, I've found really if you can just have a one-on-one conversation with someone, even at the grocery store or at a sporting event or at a church event, you just kind of share your lifestyle, and that falls right into it, and it leaves an open gateway for sharing. So that's probably my favorite way, is just to talk to people. I enjoy talking. My husband and I are complete opposite, so he's real quiet and passive and reserved, and I like to talk and be chatty with people. So that's probably my favorite way to reach out. I am enjoying the social media aspect, but I for sure enjoy one-on-one more. We own a halotherapy office, and so that gives us an opportunity to really meet new people pretty much daily and share with new people that have not even been, remotely immersed in oils in our location either.
Love it. And once you've got those new relationships to share YL, when it comes to actually inviting them to hear about Young Living, how do you like to inspire people to actually show up when you're inviting?
My favorite way is actually using our salt room. And so a salt session down in our salt room is $35. But if you attend a salt room class, you get a whole entire salt session for $5. And so during that salt session, we actually teach you about essential oils. And so it's kind of a kill two birds with one stone. We're able to introduce them to halotherapy and at the same time introduce them to Young Living. So that's probably my easiest and best way to fill seats in there. We don't usually have a problem doing that when it's incorporating something that they can, receive at a discounted price. So that's an easy for us because we have that, opportunity with the salt room.
And once you've invited them and they're there and interested, do you have a favorite type of sharing strategy? For example, using a script or more of a natural freestyle approach?
No, I'm a blue. So I will never say the same thing twice. In fact, last night, I was talking with some of my leaders and she was sharing a testimony for me. And she says, I don't remember what I said last night, so I'll just say whatever comes out of my mouth. And I was like, that's pretty much every day of my life. I'll just say whatever comes out of my mouth. So I am not a script sharing type person. I am probably, I think last time I took the test, I was 1% green. And so I kind of go a little more just off of the seat of my pants. I like to teach from the product guide so that it shows the easy duplication of it. I don't want them to feel like they have to have a PowerPoint or they have to have this. Plus then when they walk out, they have a product guide, in their kit, and then they can just take exactly those same pages and remember a little bit about what I said and immediately start sharing without even knowing that's what they're doing.
Love it. And for anyone who doesn't sign up right there on the day, how do you like to follow up with people who came to the class and didn't sign up?
I do. I try to base it a little bit on their personality style. So if they are a green, I'm going to follow up with them differently than I am if they're going to be a red. But for the most part, I usually try within 24 hours just to touch base with them and tell them how I enjoyed speaking with them and meeting them, ask them how they felt after using the oils, if they had anything that they wanted to share personally, emotionally, physically that they experienced. And so then again, I will reach back out within the next week, 7 days or less, and again, touch base with them, ask them if they have any questions, if they wanted me to send them any information. Usually within 7 days, we've able to engage and create a conversation. And then I'll also, if I feel there's a need for an incentive, I'll offer them that as well, some type of a free, vitality oil. We keep swap kits. So we don't have a lot of people that walk out without signing up just because they are able to take their kit home, and we make that a little bit of an urgency. And so, when you have a cute little bag full of their swap kit and a spray bottle for their thieves cleaner sample, and they get to walk home with it, it's much more efficient for them to immediately start using it instead of waiting 2 weeks and then they forget what you said. So we don't have as much of a problem with follow-up of signing up. We're working more on helping people follow up after the sign up and realizing that there's a lot more than just the $50 starting bonus, So that's kind of more where we're focusing.
And with that education, as health and wellness is all about that consistency, how do you like to inspire people to have that consistency in their lifestyle and join Essential Rewards?
I do. So we really push Essential Rewards. We are really focusing on our percentage as well as our average ER order for the rest of this year. So that's a big focus for us. So we do a monthly wellness box where I strategically make a wellness box that's right around 200 PV. We're trying to really help people see how to transfer from buying their things at Target or Kroger or Walmart and buying them from themselves and not miss out on money or free oils. And so every month I create a wellness box and take a picture of it. And then so during that month, if they add any of those items that were in the monthly wellness box, they get a ticket and will win something. And so we use that. And then during that month, I will also talk and teach and educate about the products. So like say for instance, if Mineral Essence is one of the ones that's in the June wellness box, then I will do a Facebook Live and teach why and what and how, for the Mineral Essence. And that way it gives them the education so that it's constantly reusable. So we try not to get married to only the oils. I don't ever want to sound disrespectful by saying that, but there's so much more than oils, at Young Living. And so many people get that mindset. And then so, they don't understand the transfer buying aspect for Essential Rewards. And so we're really focusing on product education of things that they're going to use daily and how they can do that and transfer from buying it somewhere else.
Very cool. And now that they're educated and on ER, how do you like to inspire them to start sharing Young Living with others?
We do. We have a couple. So right now I'm actually really working. We have a group of girls. I just love and adore them. And they are our real main focus of the business building. And so we do a coaching program that is 6 weeks long. and it's once a week on a Zoom call for about 40 minutes. And so I've created just kind of a weekly session that they go through. But we're also, other than just using that, we're also working on really showing people that they don't have to like sign a contract to start doing this as a business. They can just immediately start sharing from the day they get their premium starter kit. So I feel like for us, that was where we really lacked, was we waited too long to introduce that aspect of it. So we actually now give out a copy of the income disclosure statement immediately when we teach a basic 101 class, and they're going to go home with a premium starter kit. They're going to go home with actually a copy of the income disclosure and realize, hey, if I go home and tell my mom about this, I can make $50, so they can immediately start regaining the funds that they've put into purchasing their starter kit. And that encourages them to just constantly keep sharing as well.
And if someone might want to share, but maybe they're a naturally shy person, how do you like to inspire them to maybe get out of their shell a little bit to share?
Yes, so we have a few of those, and I actually was just telling one of them last night. The change in her personally is just night and day different. I'm so proud of her. So our coaching program is really what I encourage them to go through with that, because it brings them alongside of other ladies of all different colors. And I really firmly believe in the business aspect. Education isn't as important as edification. And so during that time, these girls, they've become best of friends, and they rely on each other. And so that encourages them to have more self-confidence. And so we really work on a lot of personal development during that time. Learning, if you don't ask, it's always a no anyway. So just ask, and so getting them to come out of their shell, work on, even if it's just through social media, you're still teaching and educating, but maybe it's not one-on-one. And I have some ladies that will probably never teach a class. That's not in their wheelhouse, and that's okay. And so I've learned over the years where I really kind of focused a lot on classes, and not that that wasn't important, but some people who may never step out of that were shut out from that because they were way too nervous, whereas they could have shared one-on-one, or they could have shared, on social media. So we really focus on, during that 6 weeks time, finding your niche and really working with it and becoming confident instead of, trying to be a jack of all trades and not master anything. And so that's what we've really focused on with personal development, finding the one area you want to master and doing it well.
Got it. And once you really got going with the business side, was there any big aha moment where you really figured out how to get things rolling and duplicating to grow your business?
Right. I think what the breakthrough was for me was realizing there's lots of different ways to do it. And so we don't have to do it just like the other person did it. So, like I said, if someone tells me this is how you have to build your business, I'm probably going to completely do it opposite, because that's a little bit more of my personality style, and I want to be my own boss. And so I have to remember the same thing for my ladies. I can give you the education of what's worked for me and what's worked for other people, but I need to let them find what works for them and not crush that inner spirit of them. And so when I realized that it was so important to edify instead of just educate, that really was a turning point for us. So we started our coaching program last year right about this time. And I would have said last year about this time, we probably had like 10 to 15 serious business builders. Our last session that we did our coaching with, we had 82 ladies join. And so our momentum, even though sometimes you look at your growth and you're like, I don't really see a ton of tangible growth. I'm impatient and I would like to see a lot more tangible growth, right? But I see the momentum in the ladies, and that makes a difference in itself. And then that's what's going to push forward your momentum as well. So that really was a big moment for me, was just seeing, okay, let's empower them to do it their way instead of really acting like my way is the only way.
And was there any big fear or struggle that you had to overcome as you were starting to grow your YL business?
I can't say really fear as much as struggle with impatience, when you compare yourself to other people. So it's easy to see someone that's been in Young Living less than I have and is Royal Crown Diamond and think, well, good grief, why can't I do that? But that's not my journey. And I have to really remind myself of that. Like, this is where the Lord has me, and I need to grow in my rank and grow where I'm at. And so that's probably was my hardest struggle. And still to this day, sometimes, you get impatient with that, but I don't feel like fear. When my husband quit his typical job, that was a big step of faith for us. However, we were so excited to have him home and with us more. we didn't fear it as much as we enjoyed it. And we're like, you know what, if this only lasts a year, it's a year we didn't have. However, it's been 3 years and we have no intention of him ever going back to a typical job. We love having him home every day. So, but yeah, I think my struggle mostly is just wanting to see more growth and not being patient with my own self. But I've also realized that's a lot of personal development too.
Is there any common fear or struggle that you often find yourself helping many people overcome on your team?
Yes, comparison. Because with social media, it's very easy to do. And so I try to constantly remind them that social media is everyone's like highlight of their life and not their negative of their life. And not that I want to be, I really think speaking life over your business is very, very important. And I really remind my girls of that. When you speak negativity over your business, that's what you're creating for yourself. But I also like to be very transparent with my girls. And so I tell them, listen, it's a struggle sometimes for us to keep rank. We have to work hard. It's not like you're the only one struggling. I want you to know that we go through the same struggles as well. But I think transparency is really important to them because it lets them know too, hey, I'm not the only one. I'm over here trying to reach senior star or executive and she's easily reaching platinum every month. They need to know that it's a struggle for me too. And I sometimes feel those same fears or anxieties or impatience, but I have to show up every day. And the only way to fail, I always tell my girls, is to quit. If you don't quit, you don't fail.
And on that topic, as many people love to talk about income producing activities or IPAs, and everyone has their own definition of what those are, do you have any favorites that you like to inspire your team to focus on in their daily life?
I do. I think social media can be a great IPA. However, it can suck you in and then 35 minutes later, you did your quick IPA and then you've been scrolling through and you lose time. So I really encourage my girls, do your IPA and answer any questions, but don't stick on there. So I tell my girls to do a power hour. This is what works for me. So we work an hour at a time. And so I'll set my timer and I'll break that power hour into 3 different segments. So working on prospects, working on members we're either getting on ER or encouraging them on our ER or following up on, maybe they're 10 PV short of a promo. And then the last set of that 60 minutes is working with your business builders. So it's really important that you have all 3 prongs of your fork. If you're only enrolling people and you're not working with people who are interested in the business or working on getting them an ER, you're losing all your residual income. However, if you're only managing your downline is not an IPA. So you have to still be enrolling people and you can't expect your people to do something that you're not. So my encouragement to them is IPAs is that's fine with social media, but make sure you're working on, I keep a list that we go through, our Frank list, and those are people who have not joined Young Living yet, and you should be messaging someone from your Frank list every day. And then messaging or calling or texting. I'm really big on handwritten cards, so write a card every day to someone in your downline, even if it has nothing to do with oils, but letting them know that you think about them and care about them and building relationship. Because this business is really relational building. So then working on that and then working with your business builders and encouraging them or coming alongside them and helping them maybe find some things that they are missing out on or answering some questions. So those are the 3 areas we really focus on our IPAs.
Very cool. So if you could go back and start over today in your YL journey and business, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you'd change in order to climb the ranks faster?
Oh, yes. When we first started, I really gave too much information. And so that is such a negative thing to me because then you overwhelm them. They think this is really hard. They think they have to know everything to start. And so I would have really backed off on that. When I teach a 101 right now, it is incredibly watered down because I want them to realize if you go home and do nothing but run your diffuser every day of your life, you're really getting a lot of benefit. You don't have to walk out of this room knowing how to cure everything you've ever needed to cure. And so I really focused too much on that from the beginning. I also focused on way too much education for myself. So I spent a lot of time and money. Not that I at all regret that because it's really been wonderful for me, but I would have waited until the higher ranks to do that and focused more on building my business than constant education, because then again, I'm showing my people, oh, you need to have all this education to do this as a business, where you don't. And so those two probably would have been my main things I would have done a lot differently, because momentum really does matter. And so if you have momentum, but then you stop, you lose momentum, and then you have to regain that again to build your business. And you are leading the pack. And so if you want your business builders to do what you're doing, or at least work as hard as you're working, you have to really be showing that every day and show up.
Very nice. And on that topic, is there any advice that you'd give to someone at the beginning of their YL journey, maybe wanting to grow their business and break through the first few ranks?
I think my best advice would be consistency. So when I have people who come and say, I want to do this as a business, but then they join 5 weeks later a different MLM and start pushing it, and then 5 weeks later a different MLM start pushing it, there's no consistency there and no one takes you seriously. So what people need to see is that you stick with it and you believe in it, even if it's not going at the speed that you wanted it to go to, because ultimately you're branding yourself as being consistent and faithful with your business. So then if you do that, even if someone you've shared, a no is not always a no forever. And so you may have shared with someone 2 years ago, 2 years later, they've still seen you remain consistent. They're going to come to you when they need something from Young Living and they're ready. Whereas if you've bounced around from business to business to business, always looking for a quick change, they're not going to find any consistency and they will not come to you when they're ready.
That's great. You provided so many good tips today. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you'd like to share with people today?
You know, what I really find, because of, I sound like I'm being negative about social media, but I absolutely love social media. But because of it, I do find my girls sometimes struggling with, is what I'm doing right? Is what I'm doing best because so-and-so is doing this? And really, you can paralyze yourself instead of assist yourself with social media. So I really try to encourage them, if you're going to start sending this happy mail out, or you're going to start sending, this welcome package out, don't bounce back and forth, every 2 weeks and spend a lot of money in that aspect. It doesn't need to be financially costly. What it just needs to be is to show you care. And so it's also very hard to get an idea of what you're doing, if it's working or not, if you're constantly bouncing back and forth. So I tell my girls to give it a few months of what you're doing and see if you feel like you're getting the response that you want. And if you don't, then revisit and go back and try something else. But you can overwhelm yourself and spend a lot of money, and there's so many great tools, but you can buy all the tools, but if you don't use them, you're not profiting yourself any.
That's such a great point. Well, this has been a real pleasure. You're such a wonderful inspiration that all of our Crossline friends can learn from. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I feel very honored that you asked me.
So our goal at TeamSense and the Leaders Instinct podcast is to provide as much value to the entire Team YL community to help bring Young Living essential oils into every home in the world. So YL family, that's it for this chat. As this content may be useful for someone on your team to hear, or a crossline YL friend, it's over to you. Tag an oil friend below and go ahead and subscribe to this page. It really does help this channel out so all of our crossline oil friends can see this education too. I'm Brenton, and this has been The Leader's Instinct, a Team YL web series brought to you by TeamSense. Now let's all help each other climb the ranks faster, make more time for our why, and inspire others to wellness, purpose, and abundance. Thanks for listening.